Welcome. I'm glad you've arrived here tonight. Before we begin, notice where you are right now. Perhaps you are lying in bed. Perhaps you are on the couch. Or perhaps you press play simply to step away from the noise of the day. Wherever you are, this space is for you and only you. Take a slow, steady breath in and release it softly. As you exhale, notice your shoulders loosening. Notice your eyes growing heavier with each quiet blink. There is nothing you need to do. The words will carry you. Soon, you may find your thoughts beginning to drift. It might feel as though your mind has decided to wander gently, all on its own. This is natural. It happens slowly, without any effort at all. So allow yourself to get comfortable. Let your head rest where it is most at ease. The story will begin shortly, and before long, without even trying, you may find yourself somewhere far away, somewhere quiet, somewhere calm. Waiting in line is a common feature of daily life. People stand in queues at shops, at airports, in banks, and in amusement parks. It is an activity that often feels simple on the surface, but it involves many subtle psychological processes. These processes can shape how time feels, how fairness is judged, and how behavior develops during the wait. While listening, you may notice yourself drifting much deeper without effort. At its core, a line is a system to organize limited resources. When there are more people wanting access than can be served at once, a sequence is created. The sequence provides order and reduces chaos. Without it, people may push, argue, or compete in ways that feel stressful. The queue is a social agreement that patience will lead to reward. One important element of waiting in line is time perception. Time is not always experienced in a consistent way. Minutes can feel longer or shorter depending on context. In a line, attention often shifts to the slow pace of progress, which can make time feel extended. By contrast, if someone is distracted, such as by a phone or a conversation, the same length of time may feel shorter. This connection between attention and time is well documented in psychology. When people focus heavily on the passage of time, it tends to feel slower. This is known as the filled time and empty time distinction. Filled time contains activity or distraction, while empty time feels like a pause with nothing to focus on. Standing in a silent line without stimulation may create the experience of long, dragging minutes. Fairness also plays a large role in how lines are experienced. People expect that those who arrive earlier should be served earlier. This principle is often described as first come, first served. When someone skips ahead, it creates tension. The violation of fairness norms can lead to anger or protest. Even a small disruption can make the wait feel less tolerable. Examples of fairness in lines appear across cultures. In many countries, queuing is seen as a core social rule. In others, lines may be looser, with more negotiation or crowding around service points. Still, the expectation of order is almost universal. Order gives reassurance that effort will be rewarded in a predictable way. Another factor in the psychology of waiting is the difference between actual wait time and perceived wait time. Studies have shown that people often overestimate how long they have waited. If a person waits for 10 minutes, they may feel as though it was 15. The mismatch between objective and subjective time is linked to both attention and emotion. Boredom and impatience can stretch the sense of duration. Some businesses make use of this by designing the waiting experience. Music, displays, or even the arrangement of the space can make time feel shorter. For example, mirrors near elevators have been shown to reduce complaints about waiting. People use the mirror to adjust clothing or appearance, and attention shifts away from the clock. In practice, this shows how the mind's sense of time can be shaped by small changes in environment. Another psychological theme is uncertainty. Waiting is more stressful when the endpoint is unknown. If a line seems to move without clear progress, people may grow restless. By contrast, if the wait is predictable, the same amount of time feels easier to endure. Signs that estimate 10 minutes from this point are an example of reducing uncertainty. They provide structure and reassurance, even if the wait is not shortened. The role of control is related to this. When people feel they have some control, waiting is easier. Choosing to wait, such as for a new product release, is often more tolerable than being forced to wait, as in traffic jams. Control creates a sense of purpose. Lack of control can create frustration, even if the actual time spent is the same. Lines also reveal much about social behavior. While waiting, people observe each other. Some may engage in small talk, others may avoid eye contact. There can be unspoken rules about personal space, about not standing too close, or about respecting the pace of movement. Violating these unwritten rules can cause discomfort. The line becomes a small micro-society where order is maintained through subtle social cues. One well-known pattern is queue jumping. This occurs when someone tries to move ahead without waiting. The reaction from others can be strong, even disproportionate to the delay caused. This is because the act is not only about time, but about fairness and respect. Defending the order of the line can feel like defending the values of equality and justice in miniature form. The psychology of waiting also connects to reward anticipation. The end of the line usually holds a goal, such as food, service, or entertainment. Anticipation can heighten the discomfort of delay. One area to consider further is the role of expectations. The experience of waiting is often measured not only by the actual time, but by what people thought the time would be. If a person expects to wait for 5 minutes but ends up waiting for 10, the experience may feel unpleasant. By contrast, if they expect a 30-minute wait and it turns out to be 20, they may feel satisfied. This shows that waiting is partly about the gap between prediction and reality. Expectations can be shaped by communication. When staff members tell customers how long the wait will be, frustration often decreases. Even if the estimate is not perfect, having some idea provides structure. Without information, the mind tends to fill the gap with worst-case assumptions, which can increase stress. Predictability is a form of reassurance. An extension of this principle is called the psychology of occupied time. People who are given something to do while waiting report less irritation. Airports often use this idea by placing baggage claim areas farther from arrival gates. The walk occupies passengers, so the wait at the carousel feels shorter. In contrast, if the carousel were closer, more people would stand idly, watching and feeling that the wait is long. The activity shifts perception of duration. In practice, this applies to many settings. A dentist's office may provide magazines, televisions, or Wi-Fi. A call center may play music while a caller is on hold. Even simple background noise can serve as a filler. The mind processes stimulation, and the time feels less empty. The actual minutes may not change, but the subjective experience does. Another important concept is the distinction between pre-process waits and in-process waits. People are more patient once the process has started. For example, a person waiting for a bus may grow impatient, but once they are on the bus, they tolerate the travel time more easily. This is because progress is visible. Before the process begins, uncertainty and lack of movement create more tension. Psychologists also study the end effect. People are often more tolerant near the end of a wait. The sight of being close to service can make discomfort fade. Even if the total wait was long, the final moments may feel easier because the goal is visible. This contrasts with the beginning, when the end feels far away and motivation is weaker. Crowding is another factor. The density of people in a line can influence emotional responses. A tightly packed line may increase irritation even if the wait is short. A more spacious line may feel calmer even if the wait is longer. This shows how physical environment interacts with psychology. Comfort is not only about time, but about personal space and physical ease. Related to this is the cultural dimension. In some cultures, close proximity in lines is normal and accepted. In others, spacing is more rigid. Violating these norms can cause discomfort or conflict. For example, in countries where queuing is orderly, any movement that appears to break the rule can trigger sharp reactions. In cultures where lines are more fluid, negotiation may replace strict order. Another psychological feature of lines is the role of justice sensitivity. Some people have a stronger reaction to unfairness. For them, a skipped line may feel highly distressing. Others may feel less concerned, especially if the delay is minor. Individual differences in justice sensitivity shape how waiting is experienced and how much violation of fairness rules matters. Waiting also interacts with status. In some settings, higher status individuals may be allowed to bypass lines. Examples include first-class airline passengers, VIP passes at events, or priority lanes in services. These practices highlight the tension between fairness and privilege. For those in the priority group, the experience is smoother. For those in the regular group, the awareness of inequality can intensify dissatisfaction. This shows how waiting is tied not only to psychology, but to social structures. A line is both a practical system and a symbolic one. It represents fairness, order, and patience, but it can also reveal hierarchy and exclusion. People may accept or resist these systems depending on context and personal beliefs about justice. The study of lines has even entered the field of economics under the term queuing theory. This mathematical approach analyzes how lines form, how long they last, and how systems can be made more efficient. For example, supermarkets often use one long line that feeds into multiple registers, rather than separate lines for each register. This reduces unfairness caused by being stuck in a slower line. Queuing theory provides formulas to predict average wait times and optimize service flow. From a psychological view, this system also feels fairer. When everyone moves through one line, the outcome depends less on chance. Another angle is the role of emotions during waiting. Emotions can influence both the perception of time and the tolerance of delay. A person in a good mood may find the wait easier, while someone already stressed may find the same duration unbearable. Mood acts like a lens, shaping the experience. In this way, waiting does not exist in isolation, but is influenced by the state of mind carried into the line. Research also shows that boredom plays a central role. Boredom is the feeling that time is moving slowly, that there is nothing engaging to do, and that attention has no satisfying focus. In lines, boredom can amplify impatience. A person tapping their foot or sighing heavily is often responding to boredom as much as to delay. Small distractions, such as reading signs or observing surroundings, may reduce this feeling. The body also responds to waiting. Heart rate, posture, and muscle tension can change during long delays. Standing still for extended periods can lead to physical discomfort, which then increases psychological discomfort. In practice, the body and mind reinforce each other. A tired body can make waiting feel more stressful, and a stressed mind can make physical stillness feel harder to endure. There is also the influence of age. Children often struggle more with waiting because impulse control develops gradually. Young children may fidget, complain, or wander away. Adults generally have more practice with patience, though even they may become restless in long lines. Older adults sometimes report greater tolerance, possibly because they have adjusted expectations and developed coping habits over time. Waiting in line can also highlight cultural attitudes toward time. In societies where punctuality and schedules are highly valued, delays may feel more irritating. In societies with more flexible approaches to time, waiting may be accepted as part of life. Anthropologists note that perceptions of time are not universal. What feels like an unacceptable delay in one culture may feel normal in another. Another factor is the meaning of the outcome. If the goal at the end of the line is important, people may endure long waits more easily. For example, waiting in line for a passport, a medical appointment, or a significant event often feels justified. By contrast, waiting for a minor task, like buying a small item, may feel harder to accept. Importance gives weight to patience. Psychologists have also studied the role of distraction techniques. People who use mental strategies, such as daydreaming, counting, or planning, often find waiting easier. The mind shifts away from time itself and fills the gap with thought. This is a form of self-regulation, using internal resources to smooth the external delay. Without such strategies, the empty minutes can feel heavier. Waiting can sometimes create a shared identity among strangers. People in line together may joke, exchange comments, or develop a sense of solidarity. Phrases like, "We've been here forever," or "almost there," turn the line into a small temporary community. This social connection can make the experience more tolerable. In contrast, if the line is tense or competitive, the opposite effect occurs, and frustration spreads. It is also important to consider anticipation and reward. The human brain releases dopamine in anticipation of a desired event. This chemical activity makes the goal more exciting, but also makes delay harder. Anticipation and frustration can exist side by side. The longer the delay, the stronger both feelings can become. This is why people often describe the final moment of reaching the front as a relief. Technology has altered these dynamics. With smartphones, many people now fill wait times with games, messages, or media. The phone serves as a portable distraction device. This reduces visible signs of impatience, but it may also make people less engaged with the social setting of the line. In older times, people might have talked more to each other. Now, many choose digital escape instead. Virtual waiting rooms online follow the same psychological rules. When a website shows a progress bar or a message like, "You are number 200 in line," the sense of fairness and predictability applies just as in a physical line. If the bar freezes or gives no feedback, frustration grows quickly. The digital environment uses the same principles of expectation, control, and fairness. The study of waiting also extends into marketing. Companies design waiting experiences to influence customer satisfaction. A restaurant may provide bread before the meal to make the wait feel shorter. An amusement park may place decorations and small entertainment along the queue path. These elements are not random. They are strategies to shape perception. By making waiting feel less empty, businesses aim to improve overall impressions. Another dimension of waiting is how memory distorts the experience afterward. People rarely recall the entire span of a wait in detail. Instead, they remember the most frustrating part and how it ended. If the final service is positive, the long wait may fade in importance. If the ending is negative, the memory of the wait grows stronger. This is consistent with the psychological principle known as the peak end rule. The peak end rule suggests that memory is shaped by 2 points: the most intense moment and the conclusion. In a line, the peak may be a moment of impatience or anger, such as when someone cuts in. The end is the interaction with the cashier, clerk, or service provider. If the ending is pleasant, the memory is softened. If it is unpleasant, the wait is recalled as worse than it really was. This has implications for customer service. A friendly greeting at the end of a long line can improve the remembered experience. The actual minutes may not change, but the memory does. Businesses often train staff to close interactions politely for this reason. The ending shapes the story that the customer carries away. Another aspect is how people compare their weight to others. Social comparison is a natural human tendency. If a person sees another line moving faster, dissatisfaction increases. The sense of being in the wrong line is a common frustration. Even if the difference is small, the perception of missing out can magnify impatience. Psychologists call this relative deprivation. It means that dissatisfaction comes not only from what one has, but from what others appear to have. In the context of lines, the comparison is immediate and visible. Watching someone else move faster can make one's own progress feel lighter. The sense of unfairness grows even if the overall difference in parts is minor. Another related concept is cue discipline. This refers to the rules that guide how lines operate. The most common is first come, first served. Others include priority service, where some people are served sooner due to status, need, or payment. Each system has psychological consequences. First come, first served feels fair, but may be inefficient. Priority service feels unfair, but can be efficient in some cases. The perception of fairness depends on context. In an emergency room, patients with more urgent needs are treated first. Most people accept this as fair, even though it breaks the rule of first come, first served. In contrast, in a shop, skipping ahead for no reason feels unfair. The same action has different meaning depending on situation and expectation. Cues also raise the issue of visibility. A visible line reassures people that progress is real. A hidden line, such as waiting for an online response without feedback, can feel longer. The mind prefers evidence of movement. Even small signs, such as numbers being called or doors opening, help reduce uncertainty. Visibility makes the abstract passage of time feel concrete. The act of queuing also reflects patience as a social value. Communities rely on order to function. Waiting in line is a quiet form of cooperation. It shows willingness to share resources fairly. When lines break down, it can symbolize a breakdown of trust. In this way, lines are small but meaningful symbols of social stability. Another interesting observation is that people sometimes exaggerate the length of waits when retelling the story. A 10-minute wait may become described as half an hour. This distortion happens because emotions shape memory. The frustration of waiting expands the perceived time in hindsight. Storytelling also encourages exaggeration, turning the wait into a more dramatic narrative. Psychologists also note the role of anticipation in memory. When people look back on a wait that led to something rewarding, they may recall it with less irritation. The positive outcome reshapes the memory of the delay. In contrast, if the outcome was disappointing, the memory of the wait becomes worse. Anticipation and result are tied closely in recall. Some research examines the illusion of progress. When people see signs that suggest movement, even if the actual time is the same, they feel more satisfied. For example, theme parks sometimes divide lines into sections, with each section leading to a new space. The total wait may not change, but the sense of moving forward creates relief. Breaking a long wait into smaller stages reduces psychological strain. This principle is also used in technology. Progress bars on computers are designed to show advancement. Even when the bar slows down, the movement reassures the user. The illusion of progress matters as much as actual progress. Without it, frustration grows quickly. In transportation, waiting is also studied carefully. Passengers dislike waiting times more than travel times. A 5-minute delay at the start of a trip can feel worse than an extra 5 minutes added to the journey itself. The design of waiting environments provides further insight into psychology. Architects and service managers consider how space affects mood. A narrow hallway with poor lighting can make a wait feel heavier, while an open area with natural light can make it feel lighter. Physical setting interacts with mental perception. A well-designed waiting area reduces complaints, even if the length of wait is unchanged. The use of seating is a clear example. Standing in line feels longer than sitting while waiting. Sitting signals rest, while standing signals activity without progress. A seated wait often feels more acceptable, even if it lasts the same amount of time. This is why clinics, government offices, and airports often provide chairs for people who must wait. Temperature and noise also play roles. A hot, crowded line can quickly feel intolerable. A cool, calm environment supports patience. Noise, especially unpredictable or loud sounds, increases stress. By contrast, gentle background sound may help mask the passage of time. Environmental psychology studies these small but influential factors closely. Another aspect of design is information display. Signs showing expected wait times reduce uncertainty. Number systems, such as those used in banks, assure people that order will be respected. Digital displays that call customers reinforce fairness and predictability. Without these cues, confusion and irritation grow. The mind prefers clarity and evidence of progress. Psychologists also discuss the endowment effect in relation to waiting. Once people have invested time in a line, they may be reluctant to leave, even if the wait becomes longer than expected. Time already spent feels like a cost that should not be wasted. This is similar to the concept of sunk cost in economics. In practice, people may wait longer than is rational because of the time already invested. This principle also explains why leaving a line can feel frustrating. Abandoning the wait means the time already spent feels wasted. Even if switching to another activity would be more efficient, the sense of loss prevents people from doing so. The line becomes a psychological commitment as much as a practical one. The role of technology in shaping expectations has also grown. Online shopping, instant messaging, and rapid services have reduced tolerance for delays. People now expect faster responses in many areas of life. As a result, waiting in physical lines may feel more irritating than it did in the past. Expectations of speed have risen, and patience has declined. However, some contexts continue to normalize waiting. Popular restaurants, concerts, and new product launches often involve long lines. In these cases, waiting itself becomes part of the experience. People sometimes photograph themselves in line or share the wait on social media. The line is transformed from an inconvenience into a symbol of exclusivity. Sociologists note that waiting can also be a form of social display. Enduring a long wait for something rare signals dedication. Being able to bypass a line signals privilege or status. In both cases, the line becomes a visible marker of social position. Waiting is not only about time, but about identity and belonging. Lines can also be used deliberately as signals of value. A shop with a long line outside may appear more attractive, as if the goods inside must be worth the wait. Scarcity and demand are implied by the line itself. In this way, waiting is used as a marketing tool, shaping perceptions of desirability. Another subtle effect is how waiting influences satisfaction with the outcome. If the wait is long, people may value the product or service more, convincing themselves that the time was worth it. This is an example of effort justification, where greater cost increases perceived reward. By contrast, if the outcome is poor, the dissatisfaction is magnified since the long wait feels wasted. The psychology of waiting can also be linked to discipline and self-regulation. Choosing not to complain, to stand quietly, and to follow the rules of the line requires control. In this sense, waiting becomes a small daily practice of restraint. It shows how people adapt to shared systems, even when personal desires push against them. Delays in lines can also highlight inequality in how time is valued. For some, time is flexible, and waiting is manageable. For others, especially those balancing work and family, waiting represents lost opportunities. Social scientists note that the burden of waiting is not distributed equally. Those with fewer resources may spend more time in queues, while those with wealth can often pay to skip them. This connects to the concept of time poverty. People with busy schedules may feel that every minute spent waiting is a heavy cost. By contrast, those with more free time may find waiting less stressful. Time, like money, is unequally distributed. Lines expose this difference in daily life. Beyond daily life, waiting in line has become a subject for deeper philosophical thought. To wait is to acknowledge limits. It means recognizing that one's desires cannot be met instantly. Philosophers suggest that waiting is a quiet reminder of human dependence on systems, on others, and on time itself. The line is therefore more than a practical arrangement. It is a reflection of human condition. The act of waiting brings attention to time, which often passes unnoticed. In active life, people may forget the movement of minutes and hours, yet in a line, each moment is highlighted. The slowness forces awareness. For some, this is frustrating. For others, it may even bring calm, a pause in which they have nothing to do but exist. Religious and cultural traditions sometimes interpret waiting as a test of patience or faith. To endure a line calmly may reflect larger virtues of endurance in life. Patience is often praised as a strength, and the line offers a simple but persistent chance to practice it. Seen this way, even an ordinary wait becomes meaningful. In contrast, some thinkers view waiting as wasted life. Time is a finite resource, and standing in line offers no productive outcome. This perspective emphasizes efficiency and productivity. To minimize waiting is to maximize living. This attitude drives innovations in systems and technology that aim to eliminate lines entirely. However, the complete removal of waiting may not always lead to satisfaction. When things come instantly, they may feel less valuable. Some level of delay can enhance appreciation. The anticipation built during waiting adds weight to the eventual reward. The mind learns to savor outcomes more when they are not immediate. The psychological tension of waiting is therefore shaped by balance. Too much delay creates frustration, while too little may reduce meaning. The line, with all its simplicity, represents this balance. It is a space between desire and fulfillment, between impatience and patience, between individuality and society. In literature and art, waiting often symbolizes larger truths. A line may stand for bureaucracy, for collective order, or for the slow passing of time. Characters waiting in stories reveal their nature through how they react. Some become restless, others reflective. The ordinary act is transformed into a mirror of personality and society. Studies of waiting continue to expand as cities grow and services spread. Traffic jams, digital queues, and airport security lines are modern variations on the ancient pattern. Each form shapes mood and behavior in subtle ways. Understanding these effects helps designers, managers, and policymakers create smoother systems. Yet it also reveals how deeply time and fairness matter in human life. In the end, the odd psychology of waiting in line is both practical and symbolic. It is about how the mind perceives time, how fairness shapes emotions, and how environments influence patience. But it is also about how people understand themselves in relation to others. To stand in a line is to accept order, to acknowledge limits, and to join in a silent collective act. Though often dull or frustrating, waiting in line remains a nearly universal experience. It is small, ordinary, and easily ignored. Yet beneath its surface lies a complex structure of perception, expectation, and meaning. The next time you find yourself in a line, you may notice not only the minutes passing, but also the quiet psychology at work. And as your eyes grow heavier while listening, The details of lines, fairness, and time may blur into the background. What remains is the slow rhythm of thought, the calm of reflection, and the gentle drift of waiting itself. In that sense, perhaps waiting is not only a test of patience, but also an invitation to rest. Take a slow, steady breath in and release it gently. Notice how your body begins to settle, as if the weight of the day is already loosening. The fire crackles softly in the background. Its sound is steady, repetitive, warm. Let it be a constant anchor for your attention, always there, always guiding you further. Bring awareness to your feet. Notice the weight in your toes, in your arches, in your heels. With every exhale, feel them softening, heavier, sinking into the surface. That heaviness rises slowly through your ankles and calves. Every crackle of the fire seems to signal a deeper release. Move your focus upward to your knees and thighs. The muscles here may unwind, as though the warmth of the fire is radiating gently into them. Your hips sink into their support, releasing tension you do not need to carry. Your torso follows naturally, breath rising, breath falling, in calm rhythm with the fire. Now shift your attention to your back. Notice the gentle contact with the surface beneath you. Any stiffness loosens as the sound of the fire continues, steady and soft. Every breath draws warmth in, and every exhale lets tightness fade away. Your shoulders may drop a little more, your arms heavy and quiet, resting fully, hands relaxed, fingers loose, nothing to hold. Every pop and hiss from the fire is like a quiet reminder to let go. Now the neck, allow it to soften, without effort. Jaw unclenches, lips resting easily. Your face smooths, calm and still. Eyelids heavy, as if the warmth of the fire makes them drift lower, softer, and your mind too follows this rhythm. Thoughts may appear, but they can rise and fade like sparks above the fire. No need to follow them, no need to hold them. The steady sound remains, simple and constant, guiding you into quietness. I will now count down from 10 to 1. Each number will carry you deeper. Let the fire be your steady companion as you follow the numbers down. 10, body softening. 9, a gentle weight spreading. 8, arms and legs heavy, calm. 7, breathing slower, easier. 6, the fire steady, repeating. 5, drifting further into calm. 4, deeper still. 3, warmth spreading through every part. 2, letting go completely. 1, deeply relaxed, fully at ease. Notice now a wave of comfort moving through you, from the soles of your feet to the top of your head. Every breath, every sound of the fire deepens this comfort. Your body may feel heavy, or it may feel light. It does not matter. What matters is the calm that surrounds you now. The fire crackles softly. Each sound blends with your breath. Inhale, calm and warmth. Exhale, heaviness and tension. Over and over, slower, steadier. You may notice how natural it feels to drift deeper with no effort at all. The flames glow quietly, steady and warm. You may imagine their light flickering behind closed eyes, orange and gold, safe and steady. You may imagine the warmth reaching every part of you, relaxing muscles, slowing thoughts, softening everything. Each breath carries you further, softer, deeper. Now you are simply resting, body calm, mind quiet. The fire continues its rhythm. Your breath continues its rhythm. 2 patterns, blending into one. Every sound, every breath, every moment, drawing you deeper, softer, calmer still. You may drift now without needing to try. There is nothing more to do, only warmth, only calm, only the steady sound of the fire. Let yourself go completely, drifting deeper, softer, at peace. Rest well.